Welcome back. So, one thing that's always kind of fun to discuss, and since today's a full day of hockey, so I'm not going to be, doing a big structured video on one team because I don't really have the time for it. Let's go ahead and do something a little more abstract with how I hate every team. And every year I find out how I hate new teams, even though I had no idea that I hated them that much. Now, power rankings always cause people to complain about where their team is overall. Who I hate on for the power rankings, I've seen that of the Avs, Florida. I've seen that with St. Louis. I've seen it with Detroit a little bit. Um, who else? LA, definitely LA. San Jose, Toronto. Yep, definitely Toronto. Which Toronto, with the size of the fan base, totally get it. You're gonna have, because it's a large fan base, you're gonna have some complaints from a small portion, which seems larger because it's a larger fan base. See Tampa, Boston. Yep. Oilers. Not. I haven't really seen it that much. Jets. Absolutely. Um, the week they were down in the second row because they weren't playing very well. I saw that. Um, Islanders, Carolina, Montreal. I've seen it with Montreal, which is weird because they're down towards the bottom, but they have some wins and fans are upset that I didn't move them up further. Jersey, Caps, definitely with the Caps. Not with New Jersey so much. Columbus, Chicago, Dallas, Philly, Nashville, Minnesota. Not as much this year. Now, going through what else were there? You know what's funny? People get mad about which logos I use. They do, but I don't see that as being hating. You know what? For the power rankings, I'd include Seattle there. Um, who have I been? Oh, I get accused of trying to jinx teams too, which is always kind of funny. Like, oh, he did this video to jinx us. So for teams that are playing well, who have I been trying to jinx? Not Vegas, not Ottawa, San Jose, no. Tampa, no. I haven't seen that as much this year. I don't feel like I've seen that as much this year. Now, talking about how I've hated on teams. For the Rangers, there's definitely an opinion that hey, the guy's a Canucks fan, so he's really not gonna like the Rangers because 1994, as if that wasn't 30 plus years ago. Calgary, well, I'm a Canucks fan, so obviously, as a Canucks fan, I have to hate Calgary, right? I mean, I don't have to hate Calgary. They don't play Vancouver every night. Be weird if teams played each other every night, didn't play anybody else in the league. But hey, Pittsburgh, yeah, yeah. Now this is one where I have mentioned in the past that I was not a fan of the Penguins, and I've done videos where I've talked about which teams I'm rooting for and which ones I'm not, and I've seen Pens hater confirmed. Oh, okay, sure, fine, all right, yep. Buffalo, not as much. And with Buffalo, it's kind of one of those things where I'm not sure that I could be qualified as a hater of a team that I am actively rooting for to finally break this curse they've had or whatever it is for never making the playoffs. So I haven't seen anything with Buffalo. You guys can let me know in the comment section below where the hate comes from me. Vancouver, I do get told I don't like Vancouver because I am critical of the team when they make bad decisions. I am also I do my best to be as fair as possible with them with the power rankings because I do that with all 32 teams. But there are times where I get accused of being favorable to the Canucks and on that same video being told I'm being too hard on the Canucks, which is my favorite when I'm told both at the same time for the same video. Utah, nothing for Utah. I can't see a reason why there'd be a hate for Utah. Now, if you're a Coyotes fan, you're going, hey, we're not even on the board. That confirms he hates us. Okay. So just saying, I don't have a reason to throw Arizona on the board here. So, but people want to look at that and go, well, clearly, and yep, the Seals, the Barons, any of those teams, sure, why not? I did do that one video many years ago where I talked about which teams I actually hated, which seemed to irritate the internet because I talked about the Toronto Arenas. I talked about how the New England Patriots had never won a Stanley Cup, so they're not that great. And yeah, people generally did. Some of them didn't like it because they thought they were going to get this juicy video. Here's who I really hate, and they didn't. Anaheim, I don't see it as much. I don't think anybody can make that argument with Anaheim right now. I feel like comparatively speaking to when I did this video originally years back, I don't feel like there's a reasoning behind some of the teams on the board. Vegas, jealousy, stop mentioning LTIR, which I generally don't, but anytime that I do, I get, keep that Vegas hate flowing. He's a Canucks fan. Love the salty tears. Do people actually drink other people's, like, that's gross. Like, people understand that drinking other people's tears is kind of gross and weird and disturbing. And to just throw that out there as, I love the salty taste. Why are you telling people this? That's like sociopathic behavior. Don't tell people about your sociopathic behavior, thoughts. And it just that's one of those, maybe I'll leave that to the inside and not so much typing or however you type. Ottawa. Have I been accused of hating on Ottawa this year? Probably. I'll say yes, because Ottawa's had their downtimes this year, and I've talked about it. They've been very good lately, though. San Jose, it is tough to make that argument, but San Jose has at times been down near the bottom in terms of which teams I root for, and so I'm sure there are those in the Sharks fan base who may feel this way. I do feel like the interviews that I've done with Brody Brazil as well as Ted Ramey have probably caused that belief to shift at least a little bit, in that I'm paying attention to the Sharks. So I'm going to change that check mark to a question mark. And it's a question mark because I don't want to stand here and go, there's nobody who believes that I hate on this team, because obviously there is. Tampa Bay, I get told I don't give Kucherov enough credit. I've seen that. I've seen you don't give Kucherov enough credit. He doesn't give the Bolts enough credit. Do you see that? He doesn't think they're one of the top contenders. Hater. Oilers. Oh, yeah. Yep. The Edmonton Oilers' run to the Stanley Cup final financially was probably the best Stanley Cup final the channel's ever had. And yet I get told, well, he hates the Oilers. Yeah, I hated that it generated so many views and so much attention. It changes when you have a channel. It absolutely does. So, yeah, I would be fine with the Oilers going back and maybe winning a Stanley Cup, because maybe I can be one of those people that, has a big following on various social media that can pose with a sports car like, hey, like, I wouldn't own it. I'd just be at the car lot, but I'd be pointing and going, hey, check this out. I didn't touch it, I swear. You tell the guy at the lot, right? I didn't touch it. I didn't. Nope. I don't want to have to pay for any of the scratches that somebody else put on it. So, New York Islanders. See, legitimately, can I find anybody? Because they're not in the playoffs right now. I don't think I've done anything where I've been hating on the Islanders. This is where people in the comment section will be like, oh, dude, you've been hating on this and you've been hating on that. And I haven't had time for hating on. I don't have time. Like, today's schedule. What time do I have? Islanders, I'm going to leave them as a question mark. Canes, oh, yeah, I get told I hate on the Canes. I don't give them enough credit. Probably should have put a check mark next to them when I was talking about the power rankings, but yeah. Devils, I can't think of an occasion this year. Previous seasons, absolutely. Previous seasons, I've been told I hates on the Devils. They're always down at the bottom of the power rankings when they were bad. And so, yeah, the Devils, I've seen that in previous years. I haven't seen it so much this year. Columbus, yes. I had one. I've seen some comments about Columbus along the lines of that the tragedy that this team the tragedies, and we need to make a plural here, that this team has experienced should make me more of a fan of Columbus. But that's the thing. I am sympathetic and empathetic towards how fans feel and the fan base and the city feels, and I would love to see them do well. I've mentioned before, I've got a flag that's ready to go up on there if they make the playoffs. I'll root for them, but it does not change how I do or don't root for a team night to night, from one day to the next. It doesn't make any change there. I just generally would like to see that team do well because of the amount of tragedies that the Columbus fan base has gone through, and the fact that they're 25 years into their existence and it's still, the franchise itself's kind of been spinning its wheels. Now, Don Waddell's a good GM, so I do believe that Columbus will turn things around. But yeah, there's that. Chicago. Have I been accused of hating on Chicago? Like, Chicago's at the bottom, so it's tough because when a team's down at the bottom of the league and everything, I haven't talked much about the whole, Bedard not producing, other than to say I think he will and I think he's good. I haven't seen anything with Chicago that I can think of. Dallas, definitely with Dallas, yeah. Because it's known that I'm a fan of Dallas, Boston, Vancouver, there will always be more scrutiny on things I say of those teams, and there will always be a perception that he's not fan enough. He's not rooting enough, when that's not what this channel's for. This is not about who I root for or against. Even the other night with that game between Vancouver and Seattle, I gave some thought to waiting a half an hour before doing the review because I was still ticked off about watching the Canucks absolutely choke away a lead like that. That was just, when you've got a team that's playing well defensively and then all of a sudden it turns into Benny Hill on the ice, it's very frustrating to watch. So, yeah, Dallas, there's been some of that too. Some of the he's overly critical because he's a fan of. It's not that. It's that because I'm a fan of a team, I feel like I have more freedom to be critical of said team than, say, of Toronto or of Florida or of Colorado. Like, I feel like, okay, people know I'm a Canuck fan. I can be a little more critical because people are going to go, okay, that's not from a place of hate. That's from a place of, a fan that wants to see things get better. Whereas if I said it about Ottawa or Tampa or whoever else that's not in that top three, then it's going to be, see, he's just hating. There's all that hate. But that's the thing. Then I get accused of hating the teams that I actually root for and want to see things get better. It's sort of like, to me, it's as baffling as being like, I need my kid to clean their room. And the kid going, why do you hate me? Why? What is the hate? Dad, where does the hate come from? If you clean your room, it's not hate. Anyways, Philadelphia, I haven't seen anything of me hating on Philadelphia. In fact, I've been very amused by John Tortorella in general, and I am very appreciative of the work ethic the Philadelphia Flyers have. Nashville, I don't think so, because I had them pretty high up on the power rankings to start the season, comparatively speaking with where they are right now, and they haven't won often enough for me to move them up. There was the one week where they beat Vancouver. Did I see hate that week that I didn't move them up on the power rankings? And I have seen it with Minnesota based on where I had them in the power rankings to start the season, which in my own defense was because this was a team that had missed the playoffs and I didn't see any big additions in the offseason that were going to change things necessarily. So they were lower on the power rankings. It is not easy to try to balance everything out with 32 teams in terms of how I talk about things. For instance, in my video yesterday, top 10 storylines, and not talking about milestones. Milestones to me are not a big story because when the milestone happens, people are happy about it and then they move on to the next thing within a few days. And I felt like if I include a milestone, I'm going to have to include all milestones for this top 10 list, and then it just kind of doesn't matter. So maybe I'll do a video on milestones at some point that were reached in 2024. But yeah, so that's why I picked the stories that I did, and I went by which videos got the most views during 2024 on the channel, combined with my belief on which stories, got the most traction and which ones were talked about the most in general online. And so that was why I went the way that I went. And for all the people who are like, hey, he's not talking about Ovechkin's goal chase, it's obvious that he's going to pass Gretzky. It'll happen in 2025. And if/when he does, it's the biggest story of 2025. I've done videos for years on how Ovechkin's going to catch and chase Gretzky from back when people told me, hey, we don't know what's going to happen. And I was like, it's going to happen. Gretzky's record's going to fall. And so, yeah, I'm trying to think of with the ones with the question marks. Oh, no. Sharks fans were mad at the one that I did about broadcasters and the fact that I didn't mention Sharks broadcaster Randy Hahn because there are a lot of good broadcasters. So the San Jose one wasn't in my top. I'm just trying to think with the question marks. Is there anything else I can put up here for a check mark? And I don't think I can, but people will correct me in the comment section because that's how the comments work. All right. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Don't. Please don't. It's greatly appreciated. It all tells the algorithm, yep, people are here and they're watching this, or people are watching but they're not necessarily interacting, or they are. So thank you guys so much for the interaction. Hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. And yeah, so this is just an updated version of the how I hate every team in the league. And so let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for all your support. And it is weird. I've always said it's weird that people think I hate on so many teams when I made it my job to cover every single team. Why would you do that if you hate more than half the league? Because you're kind of punishing yourself if you do that. So I've never understood that point of view. I've always appreciated hockey just in general. When I was a kid, I wanted every single team. I wanted every single card for every single player on every team. And I even made my own little hockey cards for players that were not in that O-Pee-Chee set that year so that I could have accurate lines, accurate as to who was the starting and backup goaltender, and I would go through my hockey cards daily. So those cards were beat up. My cards from the 80s were really badly beat up. So if anybody's like, oh, those got to be worth a fortune, they were worthless. So I did trade those in and got rid of them because they were pretty badly beat up. They would not have been worth nearly as much as I think people are going to say in the comment section below they would have. But anyways, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of their shape, I would say probably a 4 or a 5 for most of them, probably. So some of them might have been worth a little bit of money, but in general, not so much. But there you go. Thank you guys so much for all your support. It's greatly appreciated. I hope everybody's had a good 2024. I hope everybody has a great 2025. I will try to get other video stuff in today, but it is difficult with the schedule as it is. So thank you guys for your support. I will talk to you again soon.